Hi, gorgeous neurodivergent souls. This is Robbie from Inner Power Life Coaching. And for those of you who may not be familiar with me, I'm a late diagnosed autistic and ADHD professional female, and I have gone through my own journey of overcoming trauma from bullying and abuse from childhood time through school. Partner and definitely employment and even spiritual and religious abuse. And as part of my journey, I did a very autistic thing and did a lot of researching and pursuing certifications and even academic degrees for mental health and wellness. And so through my journey, my goal for myself was not to repeat the previous patterns that I had been, and also to be an advocate for my community and to provide you all with tools to recognize who you are as a divinely created person, as a neurodivergent person, and to understand that you do actually have the power to not continue to be a victim and to move forward into what you need and to be an advocate for others. And this is a multi-scope journey because it's physical and mental and emotional and spiritual. And I just want to encourage all of you that you can absolutely not stay stuck being a victim of bullying and abuse. And so if you would like to work with me, my contact information will be in links below wherever you are viewing this. And I'm just going to go ahead and dive into my next topic, which is kind of a follow-on from the previous video, which was Rumpelstiltskin. Um, and that whole paradigm is there's always hoops for you to jump through and nothing's good enough and the bar is always raised, right? So we're moving into the next kind of identification of different types of abuse, and that is the dehumanization tactic that employers, family members, frenemies, and partners and religiously and spiritually abusive organizations will use on you. And the first step with any kind of abuse, getting out of it, is identifying what is actually happening. And for neurodivergent people, because we tend to be very honest and upfront, and for the most part have very just motives in most of what we do, it can be hard for us to detect that, or if we do see it, we may be quick to try to find a reason why it's not like that, and to make allowance for stuff, which is a very human and kind and good thing to do, but it can be self-defeating if you're dealing with an abusive person or situation. And so with the dehumanizing kind of abuser, you will find that they view people as either literally not human and not worth keeping around, or as a commodity. And so dehumanizing has been the foundation for human abuse throughout of all history. So it's the basis of slavery, which took place not only from Africa to the Americas, but throughout ancient Europe and Greece and Roman times and Egyptian times and even East Asia, everywhere. Like, you've had groups of people who are like, this other group is not quite good enough and they're going to be enslaved, and we're going to sell them and traffic them and make them a commodity. It's a basis for wars and ethnic cleansing and genocide. Somebody's less human than we are, so it's great if we go to war and wipe them out and take their territories and their resources, right? You see this a lot with employers starting from ever. And then, of course, in the Industrial Revolution, where you had children working horrible hours in horrible conditions. And even there's been a lot of progression in modern times. We still have this, a lot of us experience this with our employees, where we're not actually people, we're robots doing a job. And we get this with families of origin. If you had mentally unstable or abusive parents who thought you were there to serve them or cater to them, or your human needs were not relevant, as they were navigating their own things with partners who wanted you for whatever they wanted, frenemies who kept you around for whatever they needed and discarded you. A lot of us have just experienced this in so many ways. If you are a person of color, if you've had gender discrimination or any kind of ethnic or religious discrimination, if you are a person who is disabled, who has invisible disabilities or something else that set you apart from the ableist mainstream, you know what I'm talking about. As a neurodivergent person, you've been probably bullied many times for being different. A lot of us, we didn't know why we were different. So we couldn't even defend ourselves, but more than likely, if you're here, you've experienced it and you know what I'm talking about. So what is the first thing that you can do to start trying to take your power back from this kind of abusive situation and move forward? The first thing you have to do is recognize it. And for most of us, we know when we're being treated wrong, right? What is wrong, we're being abused. For those of us who have come from a history of abuse of whatever kind of type, our baseline is I'm going to be abused and I have to deal with it in order to survive, right? So we're starting out from a foundation of being disempowered. And a lot of us have an identity of, for whatever reason, I'm a victim, I'm a perpetual victim, I have no power, there's nothing I can do, everybody's against me. Some of us internalize it of, oh, this happens because I'm bad, I'm defective, I'm disabled, I'm neurodivergent, I'm different, I'm like male, female, whatever kind of way. Like whatever was used against us to try to make us less than is what we have internalized as our identity. The first is recognizing, yes, you are being abused and this is legitimate. And the second, and the most important even, is not accepting this as your identity. It doesn't matter what the abuser, whether it's a family or a person or a system or a government or a community or ethnicity or religion or whatever kind of structure has imposed this upon you, you are not less than. You are not a human. You are a human made in the image of God. You have an intrinsic value that can never be taken away by virtue of the fact that you're a human being made in the image of God. And you were given so many gifts and abilities and talents and all these things that are there regardless of your physical abilities or your environment. You were given that for a reason. And abusers will love to try to minimize that or say it doesn't exist to distract you from the fact that you're valuable and from recognizing and developing everything that you've been given. And even if you have physical limitations or you may have intellectual or cognitive challenges or whatever, that doesn't mean you're less valuable or that you don't have gifts, because you do. That's why you're here. You're made to have all of this to offer, regardless of what kind of vessel it comes out of. There's still like this beautiful preciousness inside of whatever you are, okay? And wherever you are. And so the first thing is, do not accept anybody dehumanizing you. Now, there can be a lot of challenges, right? Because if you came from an abuse situation, that was your baseline. You may not have even had your basic physical needs met. And a lot of people came from backgrounds where their basic shelter and housing and nutrition and physical safety was not met. Many of you may have been physically violated in horrible ways and not protected, or the people who were supposed to protect you were the ones doing things to you. And then you were bullied by schools and teachers and friends and romantic partners and employers, and then spiritual or religious or community groups exploited you further. And so there can be a lot of layers of stuff going into this. But understand, the way they treated you was not about your value, it was about them and who they are. And your value remains. And in my experience, I have discovered that the more The more your value is obvious, the more the abusers will try to attack that and minimize it and exploit it and bury it. You don't have to accept that. So how you start accepting that is, first of all, recognizing your identity. As you do that, starting to rewire your mind. And rewiring your mind involves your talk, your inner dialogue about yourself to yourself, how you talk about yourself to other people, and how you behave toward other people, and also what you accept from other people. And I understand a lot of us can be in situations where we might be an adult, but we have a physical disability or some other kind of challenging condition so that we have to stay in abusive caregiver situations, or we're in an abusive partner situation and maybe there's kids, or there can be all kinds of things, right? But the circumstances that you're seeing right now don't have to be limiting and challenging to you forever. There are people who've come from horrible things that got out of it. And it started with their determination of, no, this is not going to be my story. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to do what I have to do. Okay. And so you have to recognize your identity, start taking the steps that you can within your framework of understanding right now to get out of it. Depending on what country you're in and a whole bunch of other things, there could be extra layers of challenges. I 100% acknowledge that. Like, there's not equal access to everything for everybody all over the world, unfortunately. But one thing that I have discovered in my own journey, which is not woo-woo or witchcraft or any kind of a way, is that we are in a quantum universe, multiverse. And so reality is as we observe it to be, which is why you can have reports of an event, right? Some kind of event. And they can interview 5 different people and they could get 5 different testimonies that slightly vary. Some things might be the same and some things might be different. It doesn't mean that one person's right and 4 other people are lying. What's happening is that each of these 5 people are observing the same sequence of events through their own lens and their own paradigm, their own sensory perception, and just their own general idea of how the world operates. None of them are lying. They're actually all seeing the truth of the thing from completely different small aspects. So all of it's true. All of it's making what's happened. They just all didn't pick up on all aspects of it at the same time because we have so much sensory input coming into it to us as a person. There's statistics, but it's like an insane amount of information that comes to our mind, and we can only process so much of it at a time. And our mind filters out input based on what we're trained to receive and what we perceive and what we reject as true or false or whatever. And so there's a lot of things that go into this, and a lot of what we experience can be based on how we're perceiving what's happening around us. Now, am I saying it's your fault if somebody abused you? 100% not. Am I saying that you're causing somebody to abuse you? Absolutely not. But moving forward, you have a very, very huge influence on your future experience just by the virtue of your mindset of deciding what your identity is, what actions you are going to take, how are you going to process what happens to you, how are you going to speak to other people about it, how are you going to speak to yourself about it, how are you going to act about it, what actions are you going to take, what are you going to accept as your story moving forward. And that is what makes the difference. And is it hard to change our internal stories? Yes, it can be 100% hard to change our internal belief systems, particularly if we come from a background of extreme abuse. There's a lot of layers to work through, but it can absolutely be done. And so if you are in a position of, yes, I'm being abused by any of these entities, right? And for a lot of us, it can be all this happening at the same time. Or we just got out of one thing and then we're like in another. It's because there is a pattern in us that is drawn to these things and repeat that, and we get into that, or we stay in it, or we feel that we're powerless to escape it because that's our paradigm, and we've made this part of our concept of who we are and what our life experience is supposed to be. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's not everybody else is luckier than you are. Everybody else is smarter than you are. Everybody else, whatever. Okay. Yes, there are some people that have some natural advantages over others in different ways. But that doesn't mean you're stuck just because your past has been this way, your family's always been this way. It doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to. And it can be hard and there can be a lot of work, but you have to decide how bad do you want it? How much do you not want to stay stuck where you are and where you have been and where you came from? And you can start changing that. And that is recognizing abuse patterns, deciding that's not going to be you, deciding what your identity is, which is not the victim of abuse, rewiring your attitudes and your mindsets and your expectations, and taking steps towards what you want. And expectations is a huge thing here, okay? So if you expect people to always victimize you and treat you some kind of way, you're going to get them doing that for the most part, okay? And if you decide, no, people are not going to treat me like that, and you start having the identity in yourself of people aren't going to treat me like that, you will start discovering, as you say in it, people stop treating you the old way and start treating you more the new way. You also start understanding that you're seeing opportunities and you're given opportunities that you didn't have before, and you have a different mindset that you can, so that you can actually start seeing ways forward. You're not staying stuck in this loop of doom, right? That a lot of us get into. And with recognizing identity and rewiring your mindset comes in with regulating your nervous system, because for neurodivergent people, we tend to stay in an overstimulated state to begin with, like the fight or flight or fawn or freeze kind of thing. If you have had a history of abuse, you have layers of that on top of it, right? There are a lot of ways to start regulating your nervous system. It's not always accessible for neurodivergent people. A lot of people have expressed challenges, say, with the commonly understood concept of meditation, where you empty your mind. Well, if you're ADHD, you're not going to empty your mind. Like, it's not going to happen, right? But there are different ways you can adapt all of these things to you. I'm super excited. Within the next couple of months, I'm going to be launching a coaching program. There'll be about 30 minutes of helping you explore different ways of regulating your nervous system using different modalities adapted to neurodivergent people. And it'll be tailored to you and your neurology and how you process things, and if you have physical limitations for different kinds of things, to basically work with you, help you explore kind of what works, figure out what doesn't work. And then if you are under the care of a licensed professional of any type, you can go back to them and say, hey, I've tried this and this and this. This works, this doesn't. Can we kind of maybe incorporate this into my program? Or if you don't have that, there are a lot of free resources for different modalities that you can explore and apply that work for you. And that is a huge, huge help. Keeping your nervous system at a better baseline will help you navigate the things that come at you. It helps keep your mind clear. It really can help mitigate a lot of physical symptoms that stem from being overstimulated or things coming at you. It can help with your identity, because once you're kind of down in a manageable state, you can actually step into who you are and think clearly and understand things that can be hard to process when you have mess coming at you and you don't have a framework to process it in a healthy way. I've learned this the hard way through a lot of stuff, and a lot of studying and applying, and a lot of myself now at this point. There's still situations I'm navigating that are like, but I have the tools now. I understand when I'm being dysregulated. I understand when something's abusive. I understand when I'm getting immersed in the victim mindset and what to do about it. So I'm not coming at you from my high horse. I'm coming at you from a person who has navigated this and is still processing my own things. But I'm better equipped now to be able to do that more successfully because I've done all of this stuff. And I want to share that with you because I know how it feels. And I know how it feels when you look for help from people, but they still don't understand because they're not neurodivergent, or they don't have a history of abuse, or they don't have these things, and there's still this piece that's missing. So anyway, I'm super happy to be able to offer that. I will drop some kind of notification when that's available on my website. But in the meantime, if I can help you, please do feel free to reach out to me. I would love to work with you. There's no judgment, there's no masking, there's not any kind of way to be. It's just you bringing your stuff to work through. I incorporate a lot of modalities. I start with the root cause therapy, which is helping you get down to the root of different limiting beliefs and different processing different things that have happened. But anyway, if you want to work with me, please do reach out. In the meantime, I just want to let you know I believe in you. You are valuable, you incredible. You have so much more power in you to navigate this stuff and handle it than you believe that you do. Do not let anybody ever tell you you are less. You're not less because of a disability. You're not less because of your neurology, or less because of your gender, however you identify, or the color of your skin, or your ethnicity, or your background, or your socioeconomic status, or anything else. You are not less. You are an absolutely beautiful human being. And I love you, and I will connect with you again soon. Take care. Bye.